In our news headlines this afternoon, work has officially resumed throughout the Federation today after the two-day public holiday to mark the Easter celebrations. President Bola Tinubu has returned to Abuja after a two-week working visit to France and the United Kingdom. 13 more bodies have been recovered from last Thursday and the Good Friday attacks on some communities in Ukum and Logo local government areas of Benue State, bringing the death toll to 72. And the Vatican has announced that the funeral of late Pope Francis will take place on Saturday at 10 local time or 8 GMT. Now the details of the news. Work has officially resumed throughout the Federation today following the two-day public holiday to mark the Easter celebrations. In Onitsha, Anambra State, government offices, banks, and major markets reopened their doors as residents returned to their normal routines. Our correspondents report that Onitsha Main Market, Ochanja, Ose, Opiweka, and other major markets came back to life this morning, with traders and buyers trooping in early. One textile trader, Mr. Chukwudieze, told us he is hopeful for strong sales this week. Meanwhile, public servants resumed duties in most ministries and agencies, though attendance was a bit slow in some places. Transportation is in full swing, with commercial buses and tricycles operating at full capacity. Traffic has returned to its usual pace, especially around Opiweka, Ochanja Roundabout, Oka Road, and New Market Road. The Easter celebration, which lasted from Good Friday to Easter Monday, was marked peacefully across Onitsha, with large turnouts in churches and families gathering for celebrations. In a major step toward eradicating variant poliovirus type 2, ministers of health from 5 Lake Chad basin countries, namely Cameroon, the Central African Republic, Chad, Niger, and Nigeria, have launched a regional vaccination campaign to immunize over 83 million children under the age of 5. The 5-day campaign, which will run from Thursday, April 24 to Monday, April 28, 2025, is a coordinated effort to curb the spread of the circulating variant poliovirus type 2, which continues to pose a serious public health threat across the region. In a statement released on its website, the World Health Organization (WHO) said over the past year, 210 detections of the virus were recorded in Cameroon, Chad, Niger, and Nigeria, with 140 resulting in paralysis. While the Central African Republic has yet to report any cases, the World Health Organization warns that cross-border transmission remains a significant risk. According to the World Health Organization, the campaign would deploy about 1.1 million frontline health workers, including vaccinators, social mobilizers, and monitors, to reach high-risk and mobile populations, especially in underserved border communities where disease surveillance has lagged. The death toll from the collapsed building at Ojodu-Beja, Lagos, has risen to 8, following the recovery of 2 more bodies from the rubble yesterday. 6 persons had earlier been confirmed dead, while 20 others were rescued after the 3-story uncompleted structure located at number 10 Oremeta Street gave way at about 9 a.m. on Saturday, April 19, 2025. Construction work was said to have recently resumed on the top floor of the building before it caved in. A resident told newsmen that while the ground floor served as a bar, eatery, and parking space, the upper floors were not occupied. Officials from the Lagos State Building Control Agency and the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency remained at the scene yesterday using excavators to dig through the rubble and load debris onto stationed trucks as part of the final clearance operations. Sources at the site disclosed that the 2 recovered bodies were staff members of Equal Rights Restaurant, which operated on the ground floor and was a popular relaxation hub for residents of the area. President Bola Tinubu has returned to Abuja after a 2-week working visit to France and the United Kingdom. On arrival at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, the president was received by top government officials and party chieftains. While in Paris, the president had discussions with the United States Department of State Senior Advisor for Africa, Masad Boulos, on bilateral collaboration on enhancing regional security and promoting sustainable economic development. He thereafter proceeded to London, where he continued consultations and maintained regular communication with senior government officials in Abuja. 13 more dead bodies have been recovered from last Thursday and the Good Friday attacks on some communities in Ukum and local government areas of Benue State. Isaac Ozan, the principal special advisor to the state governor on media and content creation, who disclosed this in Makurdi, noted that the recovery of 13 additional corpses in the affected areas brings the total number of victims that lost their lives to the attacks by the armed Fulani herdsmen to 72. Also speaking in connection to the attacks that took place last weekend, Governor Hyacinth Alia, who said Benue State was under siege, called on the people of the state to report suspicious movements to security agencies. The governor, who was addressing congregants at the Chapel of Grace, Government House, Makurdi, after Mass, insisted that security was the prerogative of the people and Benue people have a duty to rise against invaders by being vigilant and reporting any negative move to security personnel. The Edo State Governor Monday Okpebholo has suspended the traditional ruler of Uwano Kingdom, Agenabode, in Isako East local government area of the state, Dr. George Oshapi Egabo. A statement by Okpebholo's chief press secretary, Fred Itua, said the monarch was suspended over cases of incessant kidnapping and killings in his domain. The statement also said the palace secretary, Chief Peter Omiobwemi, has also been arrested following the death of a palace chief, the late John Ekamate. The special advisor to the Delta State Governor on Trade and Export, Mrs. Shimite Love Bello, has been reported dead. Bello, popularly known as Madam Sabificate, was alleged to have died yesterday after a domestic violence which erupted at her residence in Asaba, the state capital. She was alleged to have had a quarrel with her husband on Easter Sunday and was subsequently hospitalized at St. Luke's Hospital, Asaba. Multiple sources disclosed that her husband, Pastor David Favor Love, has been taken into police protective custody following threats from his wife's family. The Delta State Police Public Relations Officer, Edafe Bright, confirmed the death in a text message. He was silent about the circumstances surrounding her death, but confirmed that her husband was taken into police protective custody. SP Idafe, however, said investigation has commenced to ascertain the real cause of death, while the body has been deposited in the mortuary. The Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has ordered an investigation into the fire incident that gutted the Ilesha High Court 2 building, suspected to have been caused by arsonists. Security sources say the fire, which occurred on Sunday evening, raised suspicions of deliberate sabotage. In a statement issued yesterday by his spokesperson, Olawale Rashid, Governor Adeleke condemned the incident, describing it as an unjustifiable attack on the state judiciary by yet to be identified criminals. The incident, which occurred overnight, resulted in the destruction of sensitive court documents and exhibits, with the entire building almost completely razed. Governor Adeleke expressed concerns that files related to sensitive court cases were among those destroyed. He directed security agencies to conduct a thorough investigation to identify and apprehend those responsible, emphasizing that they must face the full weight of the law. When contacted for further clarification, the Osun State Police Public Relations Officer, Abiodun Ojelabi, confirmed that investigations had commenced. The Vatican has announced that the funeral of late Pope Francis will take place on Saturday at 10 local time or 8 GMT. The Vatican has also released images of the Pope in an open coffin, dressed in a red robe with the papal mitre on his head and a rosary in his hand. He will be taken to St. Peter's Basilica on Wednesday morning, that's tomorrow, where his casket will remain until burial for the public to pay their last respects. The pontiff's death has prompted an outpouring of grief from Catholics across the globe. To end the Sapientia news at 1 p.m., a recap of the major headlines. Work has officially resumed throughout the Federation today after the two-day public holiday to mark the Easter celebrations. President Bola Tinubu has returned to Abuja after a 2-week working visit to France and the United Kingdom. 13 more dead bodies have been recovered from last Thursday and the Good Friday attacks on some communities in Ukum and Logo local government areas of Benue State, bringing the death toll to 72. And finally, the Vatican has announced that the funeral of late Pope Francis will take place on Saturday at 10 local time or 8 GMT. That was the Sapientia news at 1 p.m. On behalf of the editorial and technical crew, I am Joe Igbo. Good afternoon and thanks for choosing TV Sapientia.